We want to tell people the names that are being thrown out there right now. We'll show them right now. Brett Kavanaugh, who was former Kennedy's clerk. Amy Coney Barrett, she's newly appointed to the federal courts, and everybody thought she did really well in her confirmation hearing. Tom Hardiman, he was the runner-up last time. Raymond Kethledge, one of the Bush's 43 judges. However, just crossing the tape now, there are reports that President Trump is considering Senator Mike Lee from Utah to fill that vacancy. Have you heard that? Do you think it's possible? What do you know about him?
Well, I'd heard rumors about that yesterday. As it happens, back in February of 2011, when Lee had just been in the Senate for a few weeks, I wrote a piece for the Weekly Standard arguing that he should be the next Supreme Court justice. And nothing in the last 7 years has changed my mind about that.
Why?
He'd be a great justice. Well, in his first Senate Judiciary Committee hearing as a senator, he asked really tough constitutional law questions, the proper balance of powers among the branches of government, the federal government and the states, and he showed a pretty keen mind. Now, of course, he was a lawyer before all this and a clerk for Justice Alito and the son of President Reagan's Solicitor General, famous Solicitor General Rex Lee. So he's a natural for this job. But at the same time, Judges Kavanaugh and Barrett attracted a lot of immediate attention. Kavanaugh is one of the leading conservative judges of his generation, appointed by Bush. And Barrett, who was appointed to the Seventh Circuit by Trump, really showed herself very well in the confirmation hearing under withering pressure from some of the Democratic senators.
Mm-hmm. Where do the justices, the potential justices you just mentioned, stand or fit on the spectrum nearest to the Justice Gorsuch, who was just approved?
Well, it's hard to say. A couple of the names we've seen elsewhere, Kethledge is a Kennedy clerk, a former Kennedy clerk. Kavanaugh himself is a Kennedy clerk. So they have that in common. I think a lot of the names we've seen reflect the legacy of the legacy of Scalia, and they're comparable to Gorsuch. There are others out there more like Kennedy or more libertarian, people like Judge Don Willett, who was on the Texas Supreme Court and now on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. But the leading names we've seen so far are very much, I think, in the mold of Scalia and Gorsuch.
Adam, in your view, do these candidates differentiate themselves in terms of chances of confirmation, or do you think that all are equal?
Well, Barrett did so well in her last confirmation hearing that had to impress some people. She understood real fire, especially for her religious beliefs, from Senator Dianne Feinstein. Her performance probably instilled confidence in the White House's team and the Justice Department that she could manage to make her way through the even brighter spotlight of the Supreme Court confirmation hearing.
What decisions do you think would be coming out under what would be a decidedly more conservative court, we can assume, regardless of who's in the position, that would affect business?
Well, I think that whoever President Trump nominates, among the names we've seen, will probably continue this trend of conservative skepticism towards increasing agency power. That was a movement that Justice Kennedy was part of, including in some of his most recent, his final opinions.
Agency power, in other words, the federal agencies, the regulatory agencies having too much power.
That's right, and the court's being too deferential to the agency's exercises of power. Kennedy was questioning that in some of his very last opinions, and I would expect definitely Judge Kavanaugh's, what's made him famous, is his view of the structural constitution and the balance of powers between the courts, Congress, and the agencies.
You know, what's going to be of great concern to the Democrats is what will happen on key social issues, such as abortion. Do you think that the court would become conservative enough that we would see something like Roe v. Wade undone?
Well, even with the replacement of Justice Kennedy, it's hard for me to imagine, at least in the short term and even in the long term, an outright reversal of Roe, or for that matter, a reversal of Obergefell, the same-sex marriage case. But what we will see, I think, is a court that continues to leave some space for the states to make reasonable regulation of the provision of abortion. That was something that Justice Kennedy often agreed with, actually, even while he agreed with the core right of Roe versus Wade. And I think what the left is seeing here, one of the reasons why they're going to be so impassioned and inflamed in the upcoming confirmation fight, is they were hoping for a future in which the court would expand those rights. And what they're seeing now is not necessarily a rollback of those rights, but much more likely a slowed or stopped expansion of those rights.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.